Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Tuesday. It's June the 25th. This is going to be our chart lesson for today, and it was a really interesting day. There were several different ways to look at today. I believe it was an uptrend. I think we had this larger channel. We finally got a break here. One leg up that had a couple of legs in it, and then a second leg up. I didn't see if those were measured. Just see how close they are to being a measured move. There's what I would call leg one, and there's leg two, and you can see it's basically a perfect measured move up. So um, that was a perfect target for you when it went higher again, if you were still trading by that time. Generally, I haven't updated, made this statement later, but generally I start trading around 7 and trade through about noon. And also, I want to say, it always seems to, after about a month or two space, I always tend to start getting some emails or comments again about, hey, why don't you show your live trades? And we do show live trades. They're out there. How many losers do you have, whatever. But the idea of this is not to show you my trading. I don't, let me clarify that again. If I'm trading and I see these setups, I generally take them. Sometimes I miss trades. So just because I have it marked on here, the idea is not to show you my trades every day. The idea is to show you at the end of the day the setups so that you can learn to spot them and do this yourself so you can find the setups. This is not about my trading. Although I generally tell you if I take a trade or don't take a trade or whatever. This is not about my trading. What we're doing here is showing you how I find the setups, how to read the price action, how to read a chart, how to find out where prices are going and what they're doing. That's the idea here. It's not to show you my trades and say, hey, this is what you need to be doing because this is what I did. I don't always take every trade. I may be taking a break and not see some of these setups when they happen, but I'm still going to show them to you and show you how you find them. And sometimes I miss trades, and sometimes I don't see it in real time either. But after the fact, I see it. Most of the time, I see these trades, and sometimes I talk myself out of them or into them, just like any other normal trader. And I do have losing trades, even though I don't have that many anymore. So don't take this that I'm saying that I take every one of these trades and I get every one of them right every single day, because that's not what this is about. So just wanted to clarify that again, because it's getting about that time again where you catch people coming in late and they start questioning, show us some live trades. Go back and research. I do try to show live trades from time to time, but I don't record all my live trades because it's too difficult to try to trade and read this stuff and be worried about recording and so forth. But what I'll usually do is, if I get done early and I see a good setup, I will record it and show you, and I'll explain it to you as it's happening. And I've got a bunch of them out there. Go look for the live trade examples on our channel, and they're there if you want to see some. I've posted my trading results on there too. Go search for it. It's there. If you want to see it, it's there. So, I'm not asking you to, I understand that people don't want to just believe somebody on blind faith, and I'm not asking you to do that. I'm trying to teach you how to do this, and that's really what we're trying to do. I'm not trying to tell you, show you my trading or show you my trades every day. That's not the idea. The idea here is to teach you how to do it and to show you what I'm doing so you can learn to do it on your own, which it's possible to do. So enough about that. Let's talk about the trades, what I saw today. I saw this channel here. This is what I saw. At the very beginning, though, I was looking at a spiking channel here. And if you come over here, see, we didn't have all that there. So when I got here this morning, this is what it looked like. And so I was looking at this right here, a spike, and this channel we were in. And so I got in here just right around 7. So let me find the 7 o'clock bar. It was somewhere right in here on this move up, right in there. So the first chance, so there's no entry. The first chance I got to enter was this first bounce off this little channel. And there it is right there. And so this is what we were looking at early. Let me back out here and make it bigger so it's easier to see. And we were in this little trading range, and we bounced down here, and we bounced right off that trend line. And you know, this is definitely an uptrending channel. And we went lower here first and then went higher, and we pulled back down in here. But what I did, because this was a doji, what I did on this one was I bought right here because we broke out the low end first and then went out the high side. So I just had a stop order sitting there where normally I'd probably drop a limit order in here. And you can see it broke out and it pulled back. And that's what will usually happen because this is just a one bar trading range. And what happens when prices break out of a trading range? They break out the low side and fail, and then they break out the high side and fail, and they come right back into the range again. But we're coming off this trend line, so you wanted to find a way to get long. So if you didn't enter on a stop, and the only reason I did enter on a stop this time was because we went out the low side first, and so I felt like we had people trapped there. And I've got the EMA, I've got the trend line, all of this acting as support behind my back to help solidify my trade. And so I went long on a stop, and it took it a minute to work on out, but you can see what happened. It took off like a rocket, and that's generally what happens. Look what happened this time off the trend line. Look what happened this time. It's not as strong yet because this was the first confirmation of it, really, and that was the first real strong one, but that was before I got here. And so, and this is also two tries to go lower, kind of a second entry type deal here. So, and look at that move, and easy runners here. And then we make the double top, you exit. Really what I do is exit when we get back to the upper side. And at that point, I had this a little higher here. And I kind of pulled it down. So I exited on this bar right here, right at the very top. Easy trade. The runners made a couple of points. A little over 2 points, really. Okay, had a little interruption there, but easy trade. You exit somewhere up here, definitely off that double top, right off when we overshot it, and then guess what? We overshot it here. We come down and we get the break of the trend channel. We get a break right there, and this one's probably more like that right there. And you could have thought there might have been a break here, but when we bounced right off of it there, you know, you gotta pretty much take that. So. Then you got another chance to go long here. You might have gotten long right here. I considered going long right there, but that was such a bearish move and a big move down. So I waited, and then we made this little trap. And when we made that little trap, you had to be thinking we're going back to test the high. So I liked going long right there. You could have waited on this bar and then tried to get in with a limit order or something. But if you tried any more than right at the top, you probably missed this little move. And I was expecting it to make a new high, and it didn't do it. So I exited right in here. And there's a little trap right here. Notice this. When that went higher, a lot of people were thinking we were still going to make a new high, and so it turns down right there. But that's good enough. And we might have even really had a break here, and your two legs up, and you can see that's pretty much. So I may have just, ever since we've done this upgrade, I've had problems with my getting some of these stuff to work. So I don't know if it's the upgrade or my mouse or what. And you can see that's pretty much a measured move right there. You can see that. So that might have been the end of the move right there. But sometimes this, you don't know if that's enough to be a break or not really, but maybe it was. And then you got two legs up, and but we didn't quite get a new high right there, needless to say. So I think a lot of people got tricked, and I almost got tricked. I wanted to go long, but I didn't like that bar, so I waited, and we weren't quite back to the EMA. And when that trap set up right there, I liked that for a short. And didn't know it was going to do all this. I figured we'd come back down and test this, and you can see it bounced right there. But this thing just kept on going. So, and this was another easy couple of points on the runner. Even this one got a couple of points on the runner if you took it. And I almost drew this one in green because it's kind of But you know, but at this point I was really thinking that we hadn't had a break of the trend line, so I was looking for the new high. And so needless to say, I like this setup, and so I left it blue. Um, Nice short here. Again, you don't know that it's going to fall like that, but it does, and that's why we hold on to runners. And I'm going to talk about that. I need to remember to try to do that. I've been getting a lot of questions about the runners, moving your stop to break even. Is that the best way to do it? And we'll talk about that at the end of the video. Um, so I'm going to try to save a little time to do that at the end. And so now this move is over. But there was also, where did my lines go? Here they are. You had these lines working up through here as well. And this, see, it keeps doing that to me. I don't know why. And you could have even drawn this right across here. So, but I moved it all the way down. I kept moving it down. So I was expecting a possible bounce either across those closes or right there. And you can see we got it right there. And we notice how we couldn't get back down to this line. That's like obvious channel working right there. Look at that. And then we couldn't get back down there. It bounced right there. So you know that's valid. And when it tested again, that kind of sets it up. Then you know it's kind of confirming it. And you can see if you drag this line up there, it's the same as that one. It fits. And so I believe we had a bigger channel here. But at that point, we didn't have all that. We only got what we see here. So we're still working off of this moving down. And, you know, once you have these two swings here, you draw that line and you drag it up and it fits right there. So you're looking for a reversal right in here. And you can see that that's two legs up back to a possible trend line. And then you get the setup. And this is one of those where you might have wanted to use a limit order, but if you did, you may not have got filled. But the market was really choppy in here. There was some news stuff going on as well that made the market a little jittery right in here. So I mean, it came down and bounced back up and came down a couple of times before that bar closed down here. So you could have easily gotten in on a limit order here once it broke lower, and it moved on down pretty quickly. That turned out to be a pretty good trade. A couple of points there on your runner. And then it comes back and you get another second entry short here. Every phone I got's ringing. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, another interruption there. But this is just another two-legged pull back to the EMA. It was a doji, and there's not much, you know, the bars are either green or doji, so it wasn't the prettiest setup, but we've already bounced off that line a couple of times. It's a two-legged pullback. I like to using a limit order here, waiting for it to break lower, and then putting a limit order in. You see that came back, and it took a little while to work on down. I didn't like taking this next entry here, but when it broke higher again and then turned down right off that line, that's a failed second entry long. So then we had people trapped, and that's what it took to run prices on down. And it ran on down then. So I like those two setups. This one, I didn't really like entering on a stop because it's not a very good signal bar. It's more of a doji, but it did close on the lower. You know, it could have easily closed one tick lower and been a reversal type bar. But you know, I liked entering this one on either a limit order, and then once we made this other one, and it made me a little nervous here. I thought I was going to get stopped out on that one, but it worked out. This is your signal bar. Your stop goes right there. On this one, your signal bar is this one. Your stop would have been up here. And as long as you followed the rules and kept your stop above the signal bar, you wouldn't have got stopped out. And it would have worked on out to, you know, the trade would have worked on out either way. And even if you'd entered under this one, it still would have worked out, because you're even entering here, your signal bar is still right here. That's the highest point of this swing. But I didn't like entering on that one because now you got all that overlap. Let me back out where you can see it. You can see this thing is driving me crazy. I think there's some kind of bug in this upgrade. But you can see all that overlap. So I didn't like entering on that one. Plus, it's a very bullish bar. So I didn't like entering there, even though even though I think you would have been able to scalp out of that on a stop, 74, 75, and it went all the way. Yeah, you still could have scalped out of that, but I don't like that trade for the reasons I just discussed. Um, but once that failed going up, that's a failed second entry long there, and chance to get short right there. And really it was a failed second entry long here, but it's so much overlap, and it's really not swinging. It's more side by side. But here we got the swing, and so it's the trap really came in right here, and then the longs gave up, and you can see they ran them all out quickly, and that was another good runner here. So several, a couple of 3 points on that runner right there, and you might have been looking for it to come down to here, but if you do there's leg 1, and a measured leg puts it down to, guess what, right there. And you might have even looked at it like this was leg 1, and so your measured move again, that would have put it all the way down to here. So look, it came up a little bit short of that one, but the most recent price action is usually your better move, and so that would be there to there, and that's almost a perfect measured move. So but if you were if you were expecting a possible finding your line the way I showed you, and you saw that bounce right off that, then you're really, so then that was no surprise that it did bounce there. It couldn't get back down to here. And then we break the line, and you're really kind of looking for a retest of this low, but because of this line, you got to be aware there's not much room, and there's, even if you got to look across here, there's different reasons why you got that support across there. So, and you can't, and look how we're bouncing off of it every time. So it was a little, I just didn't think there was any reason to be looking for a short there, especially if you saw this line. And then guess what? We bounced right off of it. I waited on that break right there, dropped a limit order in, and it did come back and fill me, closed on its high. And so you could have even waited on this one. But you may not have got filled on that limit order there. You would have had to use a stop, and then you're getting really close to the highs of this little range here. You can see that, and we came back and tested it twice, and that's another reason why you wanted to go long there. So, but I like this nice bullish bar. We had we had the trend line in place. So even if you didn't know if that was a trend line yet, you should have drawn that line right there, and then that confirmed it, and then we come right back and we test it again. But let me talk about this trade first. This is a failed second entry short that's trapped everybody, plus it's a pullback on that to test that breakout area. So a couple of different reasons to go long there, and what I did, I waited for it to break higher there, and then I dropped the limit order, and it came back. It came way back on this one. I could have got another tick or two there, and then it shot right up, got me out. And depending on where you got in this, your runners were probably safe, and you could have ridden this all the way to high. So another good place for runners there. And really, you kind of had a little trend line here coming up through here. You can see that right there coming up through those closes. And then we got the break and the new high, and then you got a little two-legged correction right back to the trend line. And this one I liked because it's one leg back, pull back. So it's 2 legs down, back. This was the first real break of this line. Not even really a good break because it bounced right back. And I liked, again, because it didn't close on its high, I liked using a limit order, and it would have worked here if you weren't real. This is one you probably dropped right at the top, maybe one tick in. I dropped it right at the top, got filled pretty quick, and then it kind of took off. And again, your runners were safe here, and you could have ridden this all the way to another new high here. It's best to exit right in here when we broke above this and started pulling back. But if you held on, you could have gotten all the way to a new high there. This one I drew in green. This one was a little more suspect because we had a break here. So I wasn't sure if we were going to make another run up. But so if you took this, it did turn out to be a trap. I'm sorry, I had another interruption there. Um, so if you got trapped here, if you did get fooled here, it was a second entry long, it's 2 legs back, but this was pretty bearish, and this is a doji, so by the time this finished, you really got a little overlap there. It was tempting to take this though. So this is one where even if you did, you probably took it on a limit order, so you wouldn't have been. And when this closed that bearish, you got a trap if it breaks below that, so you got to move your stop right here, and I would have reversed on that. That's a great short setup because you got the trap. 1 leg back, first entry, pull back, second entry off of a place where a lot of people would be thinking to go long. So that's the reason this is drawn in green. Just so I would remember to explain the possibility of what would if you did get trapped, if you did take that, because it was really tempting to take this one. It really was, and I almost went long here, but I talked myself out of it because we had a little break here and we had a new high, and so it was kind of like this over here, so you weren't sure if the move was over yet, and but it's a great short. If you got trapped long, this is one you might have reversed, but you definitely wanted to exit below that. And if you didn't get trapped to the long side, you definitely wanted to go short here because it's a failed second entry long after a new high when we could be looking at a bigger, trading range day here. So a couple of different reasons to, that's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times that we tried to go higher here and really couldn't go higher and start working down. So, and there was a little bit of a break here. So a couple of different reasons to look at it that way. But if you got trapped to the long side, you definitely want to exit here. And this is one of those where it didn't quite close on its high. There's a little bit of overlap. So you would have wanted to use a limit order here. And even if you dropped it only a tick in, you shouldn't have lost but a few ticks there. So nothing that's going to kill you. And then if you reversed, you made it back plus another couple of points there. So and then this is a reversal pattern here. Now you got 2 more measured legs down, and that's another reason that you kind of had to. You got 1 leg. This just turned out to be, even though it's 2 legs, it turned out to be 1, and then you can see your other. And we didn't quite get there, and that double bottom at a higher point, that's telling you something. And so I like this one to go long, at least back to the EMA, but I was figuring we had to come back, we're going to probably make a new high, and we did here. And then again, there's one more long here, and this is a short trap. Notice this, 1 leg up. First entry short, second entry short. It fails, it traps everybody. So you go long right there, another easy move. No runners this time, but easy move up, and then I was done for the day. That was I didn't watch any, I didn't even see the rest of this day. I've been too busy. So, but in the end, it basically made 2 legs up, which there's leg 1 and there's leg 2, and you see it's 2 perfect measured legs, and then it started selling off into the close. So that's what I saw today. Hopefully all that makes sense to you. But before, we're about 23 minutes in this, but I want to talk about, like I said, I get a lot of questions about the break even. Once if you're using runners, the break even, where to move your break-even stop to after you scalp out a part of the trade. And if you start trying to pick and choose, you're probably going to get it wrong most of the time. However, having said that, I will tell you this, most of the time your best moves are going to come on failed breakouts and off of the trend line, the major trend line. Look what happened every time we came to the trend line. Here's one. Here was an entry off, it's after the break, but we're still looking for a new high. Here's one. Here's one. Here's one, and this might have been one depending on how you entered. Here's another one. All of these, the runners would have survived. You wouldn't have here, though. So that's when it's definitely coming off a proven trend line, that's when you want to try to hold your runners and maybe give one if you want to give one a little more room, that's where I would do it. Um, but most of these, you don't even have to give it any more room. So if you know, what you might do is otherwise scalp out. And then when you get the ones like here and here, now here's one that wouldn't have, you probably wouldn't have got a runner off of that one. But this one and this one off the trend line, all of them would have had runners. And you know, and what I generally do, I look to exit at the other side or at some strong support or resistance, like right here on this one. When this bounced off that and turned up, you exit because you know it's probably going back to the other side. And so let's see, you know, or either that or you exit. You know, a lot of times what I'll do, if I know I've got a proven channel like I did over here when it was going up, you know, I exited one tick. I'll put my limit order and I'll one tick below, so when it touches that line, it takes you out. And see, I didn't get it all, but I got most of it. And coming down here, let's say, you know, on this one, if you had it one stop, one tick in front of that, your limit order, you would have got most all of that move minus a tick. And on this one, you know, once it started reversing out here and coming back up, you probably go ahead and exit. And, you know, don't let it come all the way back and take your money back. Go ahead and just take the point or two or whatever, especially when it's a kind of a counter trend move. Of course, you may not have known that at the time, though, yet. So, you know, but the real key is if you just say, all right, I'm going to try to keep a runner here because I like this setup. If it's not off a trend line or something, you know, the one you keep the runner on, it'll come back every time. And then when you finally decide, well, I'm not going to hold a runner on this one, it'll turn out to be a move like this straight up or like this down real fast. And you miss the best moves. But look at this. If you entered here off that trend line, you could have ridden this all the way to the top if you wanted to ride all this out. Again, the same thing here. You could have ridden this one all the way to the top. And what I usually do is I draw this little short-term trend line. So as long as we're staying above that, and then when you get a break and then you get the new high, then that's where you exit. I mean, a lot of times, same thing right here. Here's one coming down. If you'd have got, let's just assume you took that short and you were riding the short and then you get the break and you move to a new low, well, exit. And same thing right here. I mean, these short-term trend lines help in so many ways. So, you know, you ride it down, you finally get a break, you come back, and then you start going higher from there, you better exit. So, you know, simple as that. And so those short-term trend lines can help you in more ways than that. But back to the main point I'm trying to make is that, you know, you can't pick and choose. You got to either say I'm always going to use a runner and move my stop to break even, or I'm always going to use it to go to break even plus one. A lot of people like to go to break even plus one, and I even do that a lot myself, so that you, on that second contract, you at least pay for it by getting one tick off of it. And if you get your one tick, then, you know, you still make a little extra money and you pay for the commission and you don't give some of your profits back. But I will say this, by doing the break even plus one, you'll get stopped out more often than doing just break even. So there's a give and take to it in every way. So my main contention or point of view is that whichever way you decide to do it that way every time. Because if you try picking and choosing, you will get it wrong every time. It's just the law of trading. Don't ask me why. But that's been my experience. Whenever I try to pick and choose, I always get it wrong. And I would have been better off to just keep doing the same thing every time, because that way some percentage of them you're going to get wrong and some percentage of them you're going to get right. So whichever way you decide to go, do that every single time. And in the end, the odds will work out in your favor. You'll get some runners, and they'll more than pay for the break-even stops or the break-even plus one stops, or maybe you want to go break-even. You know, one thing you can do is let's say we enter here and we scalp out 4 contracts. Let's say we're just trading 2 contracts. We enter here, we scalp out at 4 ticks on one contract, we could move the stop to break even for the whole trade. In other words, we only move the stop up to 4 ticks below our entry point. That way you're going to get a whole lot more runners, but you're not going to make much money scalping. So personally, I prefer to scalp out and make most of my money scalping and allow my profits, the runners to just be kind of my bonus money or my, it really depends on if you're really good at picking the entries, but you're not good at exiting, then then you want to try to make most of your money scalping. But if you're not very good at picking the entries, then maybe you want to try to be more of a swing trader, because you don't want to have if you got 10 losers every day, you're not going to be making any money. You got to get the majority of these right, which you can do with experience. So if you're not very good at finding the entries, then maybe you want to try to get more long-term trades and more swings. So give yourself a little more room. Don't scalp out and move to break even. But once you start to get 6 or 7 or more out of 10 trades right, then concentrate more on your scalping and try to catch the runners. I think that's the best advice I can give on that. But a lot of it too is what makes you comfortable, because what really makes this so hard, or what makes trading so hard, is the emotional aspect. So if you're not comfortable with what you're doing, you're going to make more mistakes, and you're going to make more mental errors, and you're going to have more problems, and you're not going to, so trading is a 2-point process. First, you got to learn to read the chart and to be able to pick out the entries. That's step 1. And once you can do that consistently every day on the simulator, then you're going to be ready to jump over to the live trading. But you still got to learn how to get past the emotional part, because it won't, once you go from sim to live money, there's going to be another emotional aspect. And so the way I try to teach people to do that, and what worked for me, was just starting out. Maybe you just start out with one contract and you scalp 4 ticks every time. Somebody today sent me a question and says, hey, I've just decided I'm so terrible at picking these, or I'm having such bad luck, and I'm just decided I'm going for 2 ticks, and I've been doing that, and I've made X number of money. I mean, it was substantial, just scalping all day long for 2 ticks. So, if that works for you, obviously this trader's comfortable doing that, and when you're comfortable, there's a whole lot less emotional aspect to it, and your trading's going to be better. So you got to find what works for you. And some traders, I'm more comfortable being a scalper, because I hate to see money in my, I hate to see a trade in my favor and then back up and take it all back and turn into a lose. That I can't tell you how many times I used to watch that happen to me, and that's what led me to this strategy of scalp and run. As I got tired of seeing just about every trade was a winner, and somehow it turned into a loser, only to watch prices still go exactly where I thought they were going to go. So that led me to this strategy of saying, hey, let's go ahead and take a little off the table, move my stop to break even, and that's how I got to where I'm at today. And so that works for me, being a scalper, and I'm pretty good at picking the entries, so I like to just get what I can get out of it and look for a new entry. But some people are not comfortable with that, and they may be more comfortable, trading one contract and trying to get a runner and making 5 to 10 or whatever it'll give you off that one contract, and giving it a little more room. If that's the way you are, then you can still use our entry methods and how to read the chart to do that and to find your targets. I mean, that's easily done. So there's multiple ways to get about this. But the key here, what I'm trying to get across, is find what you're comfortable with and go that route. But do the same thing every time. Don't try to say, I'm going to let this one run, but I'm only going to scalp here, because you'll scalp out on all the best entries, and you'll try to hang on to a runner and every one of them will be a loser. Again, it's the law of trading. Don't ask me why, but that's what's going to happen to you if you try and pick and choose. You can't do it. You can't cherry pick, and you can't pick and choose. Find one strategy and go with it, and let that be your thing. So, all right, it's 34 minutes today. We're running on to 35 minutes here. This is good stuff, though. And that was a question that like I said, I've been getting that one a lot lately. So, and somebody asked me to talk about it in the video today. So I thought, hey, since I've seen this so many times, that'll be a good thing to cover. And you could have even looked at today. I think I've already said this, but just in case I can't remember, you could have even looked today as a range day. I mean, we had the spike and we just kind of went into a range. So there were many, and you can see that would have set you up for a long here that I didn't mark because we were trending down, and a long here that would have worked because we fell below these areas, and this might have even been here there now. So, and you can see that. So there's different ways to look at the kind of day today was, but and that's what I always tell people. There's multiple ways to often get to the same conclusion. But when you see multiple reasons to enter, and if you had this line across here, which I had mine right here, I think, today, that gave this trade and this trade another reason to enter. It's a failed break lower. It's a bounce off this possible trend line. You know, there's different reasons for entering that then, and anytime you can find more than one reason to enter a trade, it just strengthens it. And so keep that in mind. And but anyway, 36 minutes now. I'm going to wrap it up. This is getting pretty long. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see